Today we're reacting to his story.
Orphanage, didn't have parents, but when one of my friends asked me to sleep over at his house, I couldn't believe it. His mom picked us up after school, and when we got to his house, I couldn't believe my eyes. He had his own TV in his room, more shoes than I'd ever owned in my life, and the softest bed I've ever felt. His mom woke us up the next morning and said, "Do you guys want some pancakes?" I was in heaven. I couldn't even remember the last time I had pancakes. But just before I could tell her yes, he yelled, "Get out, Mom! We don't want your stupid pancakes." She looked upset. "Maybe your friend would like some honey." I opened my mouth, but again he yelled, "No, get out, Mom, you ruin everything." She looked like she was about to cry, but just slowly closed the door. I sat there in shock and looked over at him. He just went to bed like nothing even happened, and I immediately started grabbing my things. "Wait, no, please don't go." I kept packing. I opened the door and saw his mom still in tears in the kitchen. "Please, you're my only friend." And in that moment, I turned around and said, "Yeah, I can see why." I took a pair of his shoes and walked out. Everyone laughed at my shoes.
Why would you take his shoes, dummy? Let's search for a different video. Why does it take 2 hours to load? Freak you. Let me just scroll down by... Okay.
The officers walked me down the cement hallway, leading me to my execution. One laughed. "Time for death row. So are you finally ready to admit that you're guilty?" I shook my head. I didn't do it. I was telling the truth, but they didn't believe me. No one ever did. They pushed open a steel door, and the officer nudged me. "So, which way do you want to die?" A man stood with a rifle. A vial of poison sat on a tray, and an electric chair waited in the middle. I pointed at the chair, because I just wanted it fast. They strapped me down, and I clenched my eyes shut before whispering my last words. "I love you, Mom. See you on the other side." But after a few seconds, nothing happened. I opened my eyes, and the officer jiggled the cables. "Okay, let's try this again." He flipped the switch, and my entire body went rigid, but still nothing happened. I gasped. No way. Was I going to live? The warden lost his patience and jerked his head at the rifleman. "Just shoot the bastard." The barrel came up and pointed straight at my chest, but the rifleman's hands started shaking. His voice cracked as his eyes filled with tears. "This is a divine intervention. It proves he's innocent. I can't shoot him." An officer hauled me out of the seat and sat down in it himself. "I'll prove that it's not some divine intervention BS. Turn on the switch." The switch was flipped, and the chair instantly started working. He threw himself out of the chair to stop himself from dying. He wheezed. "It works. Throw him back on." But when they strapped me back in and tried to spark the chair again, it didn't work. Officers fell to their knees, and the one who'd told me to admit I was guilty was crying now, pointing at me and shouting, "The universe won't let him die. He's innocent. He was telling the truth." I wrapped my arms around the chair and screamed, "Thank God," because even though no one in my life believed I was innocent, a chair did, and in the end, that's all that mattered. The officers walked me down the cement hallway, leading me to my execution. One laughed. "Time for death row. So are you finally ready to admit that you're guilty?" I shook my head. I didn't do it. I was telling the truth, but they didn't believe me. No one ever did. They pushed open a steel door and...
channels. Let's search for another video. Just go down.
I was at my school's annual Skittles guessing contest, waiting for the teacher to announce the winner. The prize was a brand new Nintendo Switch.
Okay,
I'd never wanted anything more. The teacher shouted, "We have a winner," and pointed right at me. I jumped out of my seat screaming. But before I could grab my prize, a kid named Jason snatched at the box. He'd won this contest every single year. I was only one number off. That Switch should be mine. I pulled it back towards me. "No way. I won it fair." His face dropped. "A real winner would just give it to me, and I'll make sure you do." I didn't know what he meant by that until he fell onto the floor crying. Jason put his hands over his face, real tears coming out, performing a show for everyone to see. "You don't understand. My parents have cancer, and winning this was the only thing that made them happy." The whole room gasped and turned to me. Suddenly, I was the villain, but I wasn't sure if he was lying or telling the truth. "Please," he choked out. "They don't have much time left." They were so excited for me. The teacher knelt beside him and rubbed his back, then looked up at me. "Maybe you could let him have this one." For his parents, everyone was staring, waiting for my response. But my stomach twisted. If his parents were really dying, I'd be a bad person. I didn't want to be cruel. So slowly, I held out the switch and placed it in his hands.
I don't care his parents have cancer. Give me that. I swear I'm gonna scream on top of my lungs. Why is my
because moments
voice
later,
so bad?
2 adults walked in, beaming. Jason yelled, "Mom, Dad, I won. The Nintendo's mine." The teacher lit up and rushed over to them, taking their hands. "You must be so proud, and I'm so sorry about your battle with cancer. I hope you both recover soon." The parents stared at him, confused. The teacher blinked. Jason told us about how you both are ill. She put her hand on my back.
it.
And this sweet boy gave up the prize for your son to see you happy. Jason went white.
No,
His parents turned to
he
him. You told people we
didn't.
had cancer? The whole room realized Jason lied to get the prize, and the teacher's face hardened.
Oh
You're banned from this
my
contest. Now give your switch back
God.
to the real winner. Jason's parents pushed him
He should
towards
get
me. Jason
expelled.
hesitated. I smirked and said, a real winner would just
Really?
give it back to me. He dropped the switch into
He
my
actually
hands, his
should
face
get
redder than the Skittles in the
expelled.
jar. I was at my school's annual Skittles guessing
Okay,
contest.
let's check for another video. Make sure to... I won't say it now.
I set down the
It's
watering
so
can
early.
and looked around at my girlfriend's 18
Okay.
plants, proud I'd kept them alive while
18.
she was away. But then she opened the door and dropped her suitcase in
What?
horror. What the hell did you do? She gripped
What
her head and sprinted to one of her plants, crouching beside it. I looked closely and realized one of the leaves at the bottom was slightly greener than the rest. I asked why that's a problem, but she immediately began throwing my clothes at me. We're done. How could you let that
Yeah.
leaf be more green? Her
What
eyes
are you
filled with
doing,
tears, and I
girly
stopped
pop?
laughing when the plate smashed
Bro-
against the wall
oh.
near my head. I told her I can just buy her a new
One.
plant, but she slammed her hands on the counter. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard you say. Snot dripped from her nose as she called my mother. Your son just destroyed my life forever. Please come get him. I was in
That is
disbelief
not
and
your
pointed at the
life,
17
man.
other perfect
You
plants, asking why
stupid
she's
man.
focused on the one slightly greener leaf and not the hundreds of perfect ones. But she was already on her knees, rubbing
Just
the leaf,
cut it
whispering to it,
off.
"We're gonna sue him for this. He's gonna pay." Suddenly
Just
the door
cut it out. Oops.
Everyone laughed at my shoe.
A random one. I am so sorry for that. Let's search which one we could put. The one that looks. I'm trying to search for that one that we just had. I cannot find it, bro. I cannot
I was
find
16
it.
when I
Let me
came
put
home
this
from my
one.
first day at work and saw all the
Okay.
furniture in my house was missing.
16
I opened the
and you
fridge
were
expecting
at
to
work
snap back to
then.
reality, but it was empty.
Oh.
And then I found a note on the table that made me
Yeah,
fall
they
over.
left
We
you,
sold the
Brody.
house. We don't have the money to care for both you and your brother. You have 7 days to leave before the new family moves in. Good
Maybe
luck. It
because
was my
your
dad's
brother is
handwriting,
your
and there was
favorite-
nothing about where they
your
were
older
going. I started
brother is your
crying because no way
favorite
could my
child.
own family just abandon me. But when I tried to call them, I
found.
realized I was blocked. That night, I knocked on my
Damn,
friend's door in my
come
only
on.
outfit and explained
Nah,
what
I'm just
happened.
kidding.
They instantly gave me a spare room, and I started working as hard as I could. 10 years later, I had my own contracting company
Oh
and a
my-
house I'd bought in cash. I'd stopped waiting for a call from them since the day I sent them invites to my college graduation, only to take my diploma to the sight of 3 empty chairs. But then one day, my doorbell rang. I opened it, and my parents and my older brother stood there smirking. The exact faces I remembered 15 years ago. They walked past me into my house like they owned it, and I was in so much shock I couldn't speak. Mom instantly threw her arms around me. "How's our entrepreneur? We're so proud of our son." She pinched my cheek, while my dad was already opening cabinets in my kitchen. I asked, "What do you want?" in a shaky voice, and Mom instantly smiled. "We need to move in for a little while. Rent-free. We lost our house and family takes care of family." I saw my brother kick off his shoes and settle onto my couch while Mom kept going. "We'll also need a $3,000 monthly grocery budget and an allowance for your brother." I looked over at my 34-year-old brother and my dad already sharing my beef jerky. Before I could reply, Mom walked out to her car and returned with 2 suitcases. She set them down, and the 3 of them
He
started
can just
unpacking
get
in
a
my living
job,
room.
bro.
Mom tossed her dresses on my sofa,
I
and my brother was
swear.
already plugging in his PlayStation. I
Yeah,
remember a sudden
who's the
rage
parent?
taking over me. They abandoned me as a kid
Yeah.
and now wanted my house. I walked over and immediately slapped their hands off the suitcases. I unplugged my brother's PlayStation and pulled out the note
If
they
I
left
got
me
that
15 years
PlayStation
ago
in
from
my
my
head,
wallet. Do you remember
in my
this?
hand,
Because I never
I would
forgot it.
break
I slammed it on the
it,
table.
so yeah.
Mom scoffed.
I'll
That was so
give
long
it
ago,
that.
but I was already opening my door. You
Yeah,
gave me
yeah.
7 days. I'm giving you until I count to 3, or I'm having my security guards escort you out. They laughed, and my brother stepped towards me. "What security guards?" I laughed back and pressed the button on my house alarm. 4 trained men instantly walked in. They grabbed
Damn,
my parents
they're
and brother by
buff.
their arms. My dad yelled, "You can't abandon us, we're family." But I laughed. Funny, that's what I said 15 years ago. They were escorted out, still begging. I was 16 when I came home from my first day at work, and
let me search for a different.
my little brother and I were wrestling on the couch when I accidentally flipped him too hard, and he slammed
Oh
straight onto the floor.
my
He lay on the floor screaming, holding his arm,
God.
a red bruise already forming near his elbow. I was supposed to be watching him and knew I was screwed because my mom swore if she
Guys,
caught us
by
wrestling
the
again, she'd take
way,
everything I owned
watch
and beat
this
my My
because,
brother had tears running
people
down his
say
face
this
as I
guy
checked
is
the
better
clock.
than
She'd be home any
Zack
minute, and I needed to
Effies.
fix this quickly. He screamed,
I
"I'm
see
telling
that
Mom you
Zack
pushed me. This is your
Effies,
fault.
not
You wanted
this
to wrestle
guy.
again." I slapped my hand hand over his mouth. Stop crying. If you stop, I'll give you my PS5, the one I saved 2 summers for. He went still. For real? Yes, but the bruise was darkening fast, purple creeping across his elbow, and I knew my mom would notice it the second she walked in. So I looked it up on ChatGPT, and every result said, go to the ER immediately. My hand started shaking. No way, I'm telling, he said. Mom's text lit up my screen. She's almost home. No, take my room too. Just stay quiet, I swear. So I went on Reddit, and some thread swore toothpaste and raw potato pulled a bruise out. So I packed his arm in paste and mummified it in a sock, but it bloated up yellow and lumpy, looking 10 times more broken than before. Then Mom's car beeped in the driveway. Say nothing, and I'll buy you a Switch too, I begged, and the doorknob started to turn. My mom froze in the doorway, looking at the two of us, then at the lumpy yellow sock swallowing my brother's arm. What happened? My brother's lip trembled, but he didn't say a word. She took one look at the couch cushions on the floor, and her face went hard. Were you two wrestling again? I took a deep breath as she started unwrapping the sock, bracing like she'd find a bone sticking out. But underneath the paste was a bruise the size of a quarter, already fading. She turned to me slowly. You did all of this, over a small bruise? I'm taking your phone, your PS5, everything. I watched her walk straight to my room, grabbing my stuff, when my brother leaned over and whispered, I didn't snitch, so I still get your room, your PS5, and you're buying me a Switch. My little brother and—
You did. Now let me pick a different video.
My little brother said, I just got an iPhone 17
By
for
the way,
$25,
guys, this
then held up a
guy
hexagon-shaped device with
uploads,
iPhone 17 written on the back. I crossed my arms and laughed. Where did you get it? And his eyes lit up. China. Shipping only took 2 months. He plugged it into the charger, and I watched the battery go from 10 down to 5. My brother nearly fell from his chair. Oh my God, it's so advanced it charges in reverse. I ruffled his hair and turned to leave. But then he said, wow, it's asking if I want to transfer the data from another phone to this one. Suddenly, I didn't feel my phone in my pocket, and when I turned back, I saw him plugging my phone into his Chinese iPhone. My heart dropped as I realized all my bank passwords and personal details were on it, and he was moving them to his iPhone. I lunged to grab it, but he blocked it with his body. Stop being jealous of my new phone. Buy your own. I tried explaining I wasn't jealous, but he just kept smiling at the orange progress bar and shielding the phones. I watched helplessly as it went from 17 to 100 in one swoop. Transfer completed. Data stored in Chongqing headquarters lit up the screen, and my legs buckled. My brother was losing his mind about how fast Chinese technology is, but I was already logging into my computer, pure panic on my face. I clicked my mouse, and my fingers trembled as I typed in my password, 0 in my banking app. A $14,000 transfer made to iPhone International. My face drained of color, and I turned to stare at my brother clicking on his iPhone. Its battery is at 120%. Isn't that cool? I didn't say a word. I was thinking how to get away with permanently sending a 12-year-old to China. My little brother said, I just got an iPhone 17 for $25, then held up a—
Go here. Red on video. Are you serious?
My grandma was wobbling on a kitchen chair, reaching for the top shelf, so I grabbed her waist. You're too old for this. Let me do it for you. She swatted my hands away. I may be a little older than you, but I still got it. I just laughed it off. She jumped down and landed in a squat. I'm gonna prove it. I didn't know what she was talking about, but the next day she pulled up outside my house, honking till I came out. She rolled the window down and said, I'm gonna show you what us grandmas are capable of. I got in the car and asked, Grandma, where are we going? Is it your knitting club or something? She responded by putting on sunglasses and doing 130 in a 50 lane. You'll see. When we parked at a small airfield, I turned to her completely confused. Grandma, why are we at an airport? But she was already getting out of the car and cartwheeling through the entrance. Just follow me, son. Inside, a guy at the desk lit up and he saw her. Rita, it's been so long since we last saw each other. He kissed her hand, and she pointed a finger at me. He thinks I'm too old to do anything cool anymore. The man looked at me and laughed. Then you've got another thing coming. He handed her a parachute backpack, and she stepped into it like she'd done it 1,000 times, snapping every buckle without looking. I smiled nervously. Gran, what are we doing? She tossed a jumpsuit at my chest. We're going skydiving. My heart started pounding, and I grabbed her arm. This is insane, Gran. You're 80 years old. Let me drive you home. She shook me off and walked to the plane. I climbed in after her, and I watched the houses become tiny dots in the distance as we shot up 18,000 feet into the sky. She checked my straps for me, calm as anything, while I gripped the bench till my knuckles ached. When we got to the top, the instructor hauled the door open, and freezing wind tore through the cabin. I locked up in the doorway, shaking my head. Grandma, I really can't do this. She pulled her goggles down and clipped my strap. You're young, let me do it for you. She tipped back backward out of the plane, arms wide, whooping like a teenager. I dove out after her, and by the time I got near to her, she was way below me, flat and steady and grinning into the wind, while I cartwheeled through the sky screaming her name. When we landed, I was a sweaty mess, but my grandma landed in a squat and smiled, told you I was gonna prove it. My grandma was wobbling on a kitchen chair.
Like a different thingy. Let me go to the channels again. Okay, we can get an iPhone 17 if we subscribe. That's good. Historia YT, go check him out, guys. His YT, sorry, bye.